Hello. Have you noticed that there seems to be an awful lot of waiting when you go to play TF2? Because I have. Let's take a look at the ways you can actually play the game. You could play casual, which is the source of the waiting we are trying to avoid. You could play mods, which are not vanilla TF2, and there's also no guarantee of actually populated servers. You could pressure Valve, which I think is valid. You should be on their case, you should not be buying cases. You should leave negative reviews, you should report bugs and tell them in whatever way you want to fix the game. However, between the step you are taking and then the result you want, which is playing the game without all the waiting, there's the big black box, and the big black box is Valve. And there's no guarantee that they will do anything. And there's also no guarantee that if they do something, that it's going to be beneficial. There's one more thing you could do, and that is to play on community servers. Theoretically, this is just, case closed, solves the problem. Any rule set, 45-minute map timers, whatever, play on the same server with the same people forever, woohoo, excellent, problem solved. So why don't people do it? Well, there's a couple problems with community servers that leads to this being the state of things. Community servers have a high barrier to entry. I need to change this. Casual mode is accessible in 3 clicks. You go to find a game, then you press on casual mode, and then you start search. That's it. Community servers require interacting with the server browser, which is hard to find, compared to the casual mode, and it also has the old scary UI, ooh, spooky. You could find a game through Community Quick Play, which is outside of the game and you have to know it exists, or you could get direct links to servers, which are also outside of the game and you need to find them on a website for a community you already care about. You could also ad hoc connect to a friend, but that assumes you have friends, and also they already have gone through this high barrier to entry process. Now, on top of that, in the server browser, a lot of the servers, if not the vast majority of the servers available, are servers that are not vanilla. They are randomizer, X10, fast respawn, CP orange, etc. And I think that's because casual covers basically all of the interest in vanilla TF2. People who want to play vanilla TF2, just beeline for casual mode, and then community servers to actually get players, do things that are not the same as vanilla TF2. Now, these two factors lead to not enough players actually being in community servers. If there's enough players in the community servers, you get motion where one person leaves, another person joins, takes the place, and servers generally stay populated because people cycle in and out at a steady rate, and if there's enough players playing at any given time, this cycle basically covers the need of the actual player base. However, the current population of community servers is very low, leading to a pattern which you can see in most vanilla TF2 community servers available today, is that if a server is populated, it tends to stay populated. One person leaves, another person joins, it's good. However, empty servers stay empty. And I believe the reason for that is that there's no good way to indicate interest in playing. In casual mode, you express your intent to play the game by just queuing up, and then the matchmaker finds you a match with a bunch of other people who also want to play. On community servers, basically the only way to let other players know that you want to play the game is to go into an empty server and just sit on it, hoping somebody joins. With a low population of community servers in general, and not many people checking the server browser at all, just taking a very unlikely gamble on just sitting around and hoping something happens. And there's a very high likelihood you will just be disappointed and nobody will join, or you'll get 3 people on and then the game's not that fun. So I think the key reason for why people don't play community servers is there's no game coordination, in that there's no mechanism through which 20 to 24 players can gather and play on a vanilla TF2 server. It doesn't happen by itself. Oftentimes, the way you actually see populated vanilla community servers is because there's a pre-existing community and somebody in that community pings people, in a Discord server, and gets them to actually join and fill up the server to play. And then if it's good, there's a high chance that that server is going to stay populated after a while for a while, because the cycle of one player leaving, one player joining is going to keep the server populated. Maybe not the full 24 players, but maybe like 20, with always some slots open available. However, I think this problem is actually perfectly solvable, and it doesn't require Valve to take action. This is something that could be solved bottom up. I'm going to present one solution that I think has a chance of working. Doesn't mean it's the only solution, and it doesn't mean that it must be done, or it's not even necessarily a call to action to get it done. However, I would like to present a tangible, actionable proposition of what could be done to actually, change this status. The solution is going to consist basically of these 4 steps. First step is to gather people around the goal, which is enjoying vanilla TF2 without all the waiting, in a way that establishes two-way communication with them, so that you can get information from the people that joined, and those people can also receive information from you. Step 2 would be to find optimal time slots, so find when can people play. 3 is to organize regular sessions, and it's important for them to be regular because, first of all, if you have a regular session, it's something people can organize around, they can make time for it, they can be prepared. So it's something to anchor people around, make it a real thing when it's organized and regular. And then second, it builds habits. If people are used to playing on community servers regularly, they are more likely to actually check out the community server browser. They are more likely to go on other servers, and then they are also more likely to participate in step 4, which is self-coordination, where people that, have been gathered around this idea and see other people who also would like to play the game without waiting can actually self-coordinate games and just fill up servers when they want to play. But because you have a tool for them to coordinate this without having to sit in an empty server and wait, it's more likely that it's just going to happen, as opposed to, everybody just not taking the risk and going to play casual. What are the possible outcomes of this? Well, the most simple outcome is that there's just no interest. You launch the project, but nobody cares, nobody wants to engage with it at all. GG, well played, it's over. You could also have a disastrous failure where you could misorganize it, you could raise controversy, you could have people fighting about it, and generally have it end in a catastrophe, which kind of ruins it for any kind of future projects like it. Congratulations, I suppose. But that's a disaster, and of course we are not gonna have a disaster, right? It's not gonna happen. It's never happened. There's positive outcomes though. You could actually have enough interest to play the game, and because the goal is very tangible, which is to enjoy TF2 without all the waiting, if you actually have enough people to organize regular play sessions for like 20 to 24 people, you've achieved the goal. Granted, it's for 20 to 24 people, it's not crazy numbers, it's not saving the entire game. However, it's a lot better than nothing, and you can still pester Valve in the meantime, and now you have maybe passionate people who are going to be more likely to pester them. However, a maybe less likely, but I think possible scenario, like the super good happy ending, is if you have snowballing interest in that you maybe organize some sessions, people start playing them and say, wow, this game's really fun if we do it like this, without all the waiting, with this rule set. I'd like to invite my friends, I'd like to talk about it, I'd like to share the experience with others. And then if you have that, and if you have more people actually coming in and checking it out and using it to organize other games and, fill up servers, etc., then you might have snowballing interest, which might rejuvenate the community server whole ecosystem a little bit, because players are now going to actually be used to, using the server browser and have a habit of forming games and filling servers. And that can also have a positive effect on the people hosting the servers, because if they see that people actually play on them, then that's an incentive to actually put up more, or maybe have actual vanilla servers as opposed to, extend, randomizer, etc. So that's the overview. That's what could possibly happen. Let's go over each step and present a more concrete vision for what that could look like and various considerations and pitfalls to avoid. So for step 1, gathering people around the goal. It's probably not surprising for me to mention that I think a Discord server is basically the solution for this, The upsides of a Discord server are that you get organized two-way communication, which means, you can group things into channels, you can have read-only channels, you can select who can post where, etc. Discord delivers reliable, real-time selective notifications, which is good for organizing play sessions because you can remind people that something is happening, ping Europe for European sessions, ping America for American sessions, etc. Discord is also free to use, which makes it a lot simpler because nobody has to pay to set it up. And then gamers tend to already have Discord accounts, which means it's going to be a lower barrier to entry solution than if you had, I don't know, a custom website on which you would have to register an account. There's also the bonus that, when people actually are on Discord, they can just click on your server and check it. They don't have to go out of their way to actually learn what's happening in your server. And generally, we want to avoid friction, because every bit of friction you have between the person and the action you want them to take, the more people you are going to drop along the way. Already, going out of your way to get in a Discord server instead of just clicking on the casual button is a big ask, so you generally want to make this as easy for people as possible. For that, let's get to the downsides. I'm going to go from low impact ones to high impact. Invite codes are not memorable. You might think that's not a big deal because you can just copy paste them, but if you want to reduce friction, you want this to be as easy to share as possible. Discord offers an option of making like a vanity URL, which is a readable URL on Discord itself, but that's paid. If you don't want to pay for it, you can simply use a URL shortener with a memorable phrase like bit.ly/TF2 unweighted or whatever. Like, find whatever URL shortener that works that's like easy to pronounce, and then you can throw it in images, you can have people say it on stream, in videos, etc. and it just helps with getting people in there. If someone doesn't have a Discord account or for whatever reason doesn't want to join the server, then suddenly the Discord server becomes a high barrier to entry, which introduces friction, and so we want to remove that. What you could do is you could, after you have like the regular sessions, you could publish announcements about them externally on X/Twitter. You could have a mailing list, you could put it on Google Calendar, have an RSS feed, whatever you can come up with to get the message out without, having to be in a Discord server and actively engage with it. Makes it nicer, and you can get people who wouldn't necessarily be in a Discord server still checking out your gameplay sessions, and they can know when it's happening and they can join and help fill out the server, which is what we want. We want people on community servers. The last two downsides I kind of grouped together, which is that, useless chatter makes people mute the server and stop engaging with it. And Discord communities have a bit of a reputation for devolving into nightmare garbage. Probably want to do something about that so that doesn't happen. I think the primary most important thing you can do for something like this is to keep the server strictly on topic. The server is about game coordination for vanilla TF2 on community servers, and that's it. The idea is you don't have a social channel, you don't have a meme channel, you don't have a channel for people to argue about balance changes, you don't have channel for people to self-promote, you don't have videos for people to comment on, etc, etc. You basically, this is the TF2 game organization server, and if you want any of that, you can make your own server. It's free on Discord, but don't do it here. And then you specify this clearly, as short as possible, so people will actually read the rules. Then you have consistent enforcement, you have escalating punishments, and you have transparency and professionalism in communication. This might be a big ask for random gamers on the internet, I realize, but this is something to actually solve in practice, because if you don't do it, you create effectively a time bomb until your project blows up and there's negative consequences for basically everyone involved. You want to very seriously address these issues, and you want to be prepared that these problems are going to arise and you need some way to actually address them. A little small tiny bonus on the bottom there is that you might want to have also a captcha for spam bot prevention, because if there's a public invite link to a Discord server, you will get invaded by spam bots, and those are going to spam every available channel, and if they do, it's a disincentive for people to actually check those channels out, because it's like, oh, I have an unread badge, but, well, it's a spam bot, and it's been a spam bot the last 5 times I checked, and therefore I'm just not going to actually check the channels. And you generally want people to actually, be able to check the channels and not have to mute the server due to spam. That also goes to having the server strictly on topic, because you want to minimize unrelated chatter that people would have to go out of their way to mute. Basically, you don't want to annoy people. Every way you have to annoy people, you want to cut it out, and you might want to make sure that if it doesn't have to happen, it doesn't happen. So the second step, after you have the Discord server set up and you are ready for all of that, is to let people know that the Discord exists and what it does, which is just marketing. So for this, let's take a look at who we are trying to reach and also the environment in which we are going to be sending the message out. Generally, the people that are going to be interested in something like this are people that in some way dislike casual mode or would like to check out an alternative way to play TF2. So people who, actively seek an alternative, those who put up with casual passively but would like an alternative, etc. There's also the people that quit the game due to casual mode being implemented. You might have them coming back, although they are harder to reach because they probably don't keep up with a game they don't play anymore. And then you also have people who have friends who they would like to introduce to TF2, but they don't want to do it through casual mode because casual mode kind of blows. That's the broad picture of the people we are trying to reach with the message. And then the question is, where is the message going to be posted? It's like, well, TF2 is a popular game to talk about, as evidenced by endless videos, discussions, and chaos generally. So there exist popular platforms to share the message about this, and there's also pre-existing communities which, like the heads of those communities, can also boost the message, shout the project out on YouTube, on whatever. Now, it's not so rosy though, because as we can see through various controversies like Save TF2, Fix TF2, the launch of Gold Rush, the casual versus quick play debate, etc., there's a lot of heated discourse around the game. People have hair trigger reactions, people don't trust each other, and basically anything that happens is going to be faced with harsh scrutiny. So you want to basically be careful about what you put out there and how you've put it out. So to address the target and the environment in which we are posting, I think the messaging style should focus on the value proposition or the goal of playing vanilla TF2 without all the waiting front and center. You can think of it as a poster, and then this is basically the title of the poster. It's not exactly the words I'm saying, it's a message that lets people clearly know that this is what we are doing. Then you want a clear roadmap for what you are doing, in what order and when, with deadlines, so that people know what they are dealing with, what is happening. And it generally, I think, should be affirmative in that we are organizing games, we are coordinating games. If you want to play TF2 and have fun, join, rather than casual sucks or that is awful or don't you hate X, etc. Avoid comparisons, avoid putting things down, avoid starting, fights. It's like you want to avoid polarization because the environment is already polarized. It's already going to be difficult. What's the point of this kind of messaging style? First, you want to appear serious, professional, and trustworthy because the environment is hostile. This is why you want to be very clear about what you are doing, and you want to have deadlines and the roadmap so people know that, this is happening and this is happening, in real time at a certain point. It's not like a nebulous something somewhere at some point. You want to be this, get in at this time, things are going to happen, and then it's going to be happening, right? It's very clear, concrete, understandable. And then you want to be very careful because you can't unpost things. So you want to make sure that A, you are ready before you actually start getting people into the server. And you also want to choose your words carefully and be clear so that you don't have confusion and you don't start fights by people, having wrong expectations coming in because you said something that wasn't clear. Be very careful with the messaging about this, effectively. Like the obvious conclusion you might have to this is like, well, what if just nobody joins the server? Well, it's a possible outcome. However, you don't really know if there's actual interest for this until you try. There's plenty of people talking about disliking casual and not wanting to wait. Are those people going to show up for something like this? Well, we don't really know. Maybe they just like talking about disliking casual. If there's no interest because you did bad marketing and nobody knew about the project, then, learn from the mistakes, get better marketing, maybe try again. But otherwise, if you promoted this and it got out there and people saw it and then nobody joined the server to actually participate, then the idea is basically dead. GG, well played, nice try. It's not gonna happen. However, assuming there is actual interest to some extent, at least enough people to maybe organize a session a week, maybe something like that. Like, I don't know, you have 50 people in the server. That's something, more than 0. You want to find optimal time slots, so get data on when the people that you have gathered can play. How can you do this? Well, you can poll the players that you have gathered in the server because we have two-way communication and it's not a problem. You want to have a clear deadline for data collection and results announcement. This is important to have because if you have it and players know it, then you look serious. It's happening, right? You want to give this enough time for the word to spread, for people to join. You also want the deadline to not be too far into the future so that people don't forget or get bored waiting for it. And also you want a little bit of a sense of urgency, which is going to accelerate people, I don't know, telling their friends, for example, to actually get in because there's a deadline. You wanna get it now, you wanna try it. What's the optimal deadline? I genuinely don't know. I'm thinking, depending on how intense the campaign goes, and this is kind of hard to judge, in a vacuum without having it. I think like 2 weeks is basically the maximum. 10 days maybe, like a week, 10 days. Because people can always, get in later and then participate, and you can launch like a second round of polling for more data. Like, that's just possible. But the point of the deadline is that you announce also a second deadline, which is we are collecting results until this date. Then we are going to think about the results. And then on this second date, I don't know, like 2 days later, the next day, whatever, that's when we are going to announce when the sessions are taking place. Both these dates should be in the roadmap, collecting data, analyzing data, short period. And then from this week, whatever day of the week we pick for this, or however often it is, that's when it's going to start, and then it's going to happen regularly. If you want concrete tools to actually do this poll, probably a Google form is enough. That's also free to do. You just need to make the poll. But in case a normal poll is like not flexible enough for the UI you want, it probably will be to like give people a bunch of like checkboxes for each day of the week for when they can play, for example, and then maybe how often, once a week, once a month, once every 2 weeks, every day because I'm unemployed, whatever you want, have those options. But if like you would want to go fancy with it, you want a calendar UI for people to click on a calendar so it's like more visual, you could make custom UI, just code it, put it up on GitHub pages, and have the front-end JavaScript submit the request to Google Forms. It's not hard to do. It's also completely free. Hosting's free, having the Google Forms free. You might want to buy a domain if you want it to be like big and really easy and memorable to direct people to. If you're making a whole website for this, web page, whatever, that's kind of complicating it. The point is, you can do this without all of that. And actually making a front page website for something like this is not actually that important, because the idea is very simple and it basically fits on one poster/image. So you don't necessarily need a front page, but it might be a good idea. That's a tangent. I didn't think about that. Goes to show that this is like a big overview, and there's actual, additional thinking work to be done if you wanted to actually make this happen. So let's say you have the data. Excellent, good. We have the data from everybody. It's time for the next step. It's time to organize regular sessions. You want to pick time slots based on the data you've been given from people. You make sure that these time slots don't really change afterwards. Like generally, if you want people to get used to something, you don't want to change it. It takes a while to actually develop habits. So you want to set it, and then you want it to regularly actually happen. Why is it important to build habits? Why is it important for this to be regular? Isn't this gaming? Aren't we gamers? Don't we want to play when we want to play? Sure, I absolutely understand. Valid concern, you are definitely going to have people asking this question. The short version is basically that currently there's not enough players in community servers to actually keep them populated and regularly played. Regular sessions are a sort of anchor around which people can gather. People get used to playing on a community servers, they get used to using the server browser, they get used to actually interacting with the community and maybe, joining off of somebody's request to play. And then if it's a habit, if it happens regularly, then that person is much more likely to actually engage with community servers as opposed to, just, oh, this is something that happened one time and then I'm back to clicking on casual forever. So basically you want people to center around the regular sessions because then something is happening and reminding them continuously that community servers exist and they can use them. Now, an inevitable question for organizing any kind of session is, what servers are these people going to play on? The idea is to play vanilla TF2, like actual normal TF2. That's the game people love. I understand there's a lot of debate about various versions of weapons, various balance changes, etc, etc. However, I think the best idea is to basically have the vanilla rule set without custom content, without custom plugins, no weapon reverts, no fancy stuff. Maybe you get like a map vote system in there, like community servers generally used to run. The point is, if you stick to the baseline version of the game as available today, you have a very simple shortcut for any kind of game balance discussion, etc. If you don't want to, stir conflicts and have people jump out because they don't like changes, you say, we changed nothing. This is vanilla TF2, this is the game as is. We are not changing anything, we are not making decisions on this, we are just organizing games. Once again, focus on the goal, right? Now, what maps are these going to be? It's effectively, you probably want to pick some set of popular maps, use a map list that used to be in the game, maybe let players nominate the map somehow. I think that's less important. You're probably gonna get disagreement on this, but if you have like a tool to let people choose the map and then maybe not just have it democratically voted so it's upward forever because everybody likes to play upward. Sometimes just force the players onto a less popular map, kicking and screaming. However you solve this is a problem to be solved. A very, deep rift in the community also is stance and moderation. Some people prefer, more moderated experiences with whatever kind of things they don't like in, sprays, speech, voice chat, text chat, whatever. Some people would like the server to have zero moderation. This is basically an issue on which you can't not take a side in a way. However, I think the best way to take a stance on this is to encourage self-moderation. Have it very obviously stated, these, distribute like a copy and paste string. It's like, bin this to a button, and if you go into the server, it like disables sprays for you, disables text chat, disables voice chat, disables decals. So you can have a sanitized experience for yourself, tell people how to enable TF2 privacy settings so people can't stalk them, tell people how to enable also chat filters in Steam, which you can also do. Basically, encourage people to self-moderate and then just keep vote kicks enabled on the server. And if someone's annoying, then the rest of the server can just kick them. You're not going to get this perfect, definitely, and there's going to be issue and there's going to be drama, definitely. You should probably take feedback on this for people that participate and come to some kind of agreement. I think ultimately, even if you end up with some kind of light moderation on the chat, then if the experience is good enough, and vanilla TF2 without waiting is quite good, you might get away with it as long as you don't have a very heavy hand on it where you can't say anything under fear of, mods banning you because you just said a joke that was a little too far. It's a delicate topic, and it's also definitely worth discussing with, if you are doing this with a team, you probably want to discuss it with that team to actually have like one unified stance on it and how you approach it. Touchy issue, so you want to be careful about it basically. In terms of servers themselves, there's basically two options. You could use existing servers that are already put up by someone in the server browser, or you could self-host the servers specifically for the project. Existing servers don't require you to set anything up, and also, there's no cost because somebody else provides the server. However, you have no control over maps or the rule set on the server. You don't know what the moderation is going to be, because you can have people just people moderating the server are not going to be you. So the rules are not necessarily going to be the same. And there's also potential attached controversy. If you send people to a server associated with some community that has some drama associated with it, you're probably going to be associated with that, and then you get guilt by association, etc., etc., and there's problems. So there's a little bit of danger in that, but there's also a positive in that you get people used to playing on actual existing community servers and interacting with what's already there, as opposed to self-hosting, which self-hosting is a bit more, you are basically making your own server set. It's like, yes, you are getting people in community servers and interacting with the browser, but if it's your own servers, then you effectively are creating another like walled garden of your own place, and then you are gathering people for your own place. The other downside is that, setup is required for a server to be hosted, and then you have to pay for it as well. But you have full control over what maps you play, what the rules are, what the moderation is, when the server's up, and you also have a clean record effectively. You don't have it associated with any prior controversy, community, whatever. This is a choice that you just basically have to make one way or the other, and if you had a team for this, you would basically talk it over with the team as well and come to some kind of conclusion. If you can pay, if you can't pay, if you think it's more important to rejuvenate existing servers, or if you want to avoid controversy so that people don't feel turned away. Like, all of this is very important to talk about, basically. I'm not really providing a solution to this. You kind of have to figure it out and put something out there and then see what people think of it. There's not really a good way to predict all of this. So, finally, if you have the regular sessions and it's basically working, the final step is to encourage people to self-coordinate games so that there's more than just the regular sessions you are making. Now, the simplest way to implement this is to have a sort of let's play together channel where people can say that they are looking for game. You could have some kind of ping system where, you let players ping like at Europe, for example, or maybe like at custom sessions Europe or whatever, like community sessions, so that, you can have people pinged for the regular sessions separately from the people for the community sessions, whatever. That's kind of organizational. The basic idea is that you want people to, on one hand, be able to ping others and let them into servers, but you also want this to be sensible so that people are not incentivized to mute the channel because people keep spamming it. Because if you have this channel and then people are annoyed at it and mute pings in it, then the channel no longer works at all for them. Slow mode, whatever, separated into different channels maybe, like have Europe separate from America in terms of channel, from Australia, whatever. Ban people who abuse the system so that, there's no fraudulent pings of just spam or whatever. You can have reactions in this channel to indicate interest, and then, have a bot that monitors reactions, and if there's like 20 reactions on a message, then the bot like re-sends a notification for those people, or like pings, maybe have the bot ping the people that reacted. It's like, oh look, 20 people have gathered. This is basically like a direct response to the sitting in empty server problem. It's like 20 people indicated interest, let's ping all of them and let's play, actually, because there's 20 people. And while somebody waits for the interest to gather, then those people can do other things. IRL, in-game, whatever. They can do whatever, and they can wait for 20 people to gather, and then 20 people jump into a server and immediately begin playing instead of sitting in an empty server. That's the point. And then, if you notice that people play together and these sessions actually happen and they are regular enough, then you could turn them into regular sessions and once again reinforce habits and provide more opportunities for people to play regularly. For it to happen, you can incorporate that. This is like in the best case scenario, of course, that you actually have snowballing interest and people are interested in playing the game, right? This is basically the overview with a bunch of additional considerations that I have to address the game coordination problem through, well, organizing regular play sessions. It's not all that I have to say because I have a couple extra concerns in that this can go horribly wrong in some other ways that I would also like to mention. So, when you organize things, there's a couple things that you really want to have in order to not have it fall apart, or efficacy. So how to do things right, how to do things efficiently, how to not have it fall apart. First of all, it's important to have clear and agreed upon goals, which is especially important if you are working with a team. You want everybody organizing this to be on the same page and sign up for it and then act accordingly. You also want those people to declare that, yes, I am committing time to it, I am going to be available, etc. because this is not a small undertaking. You are organizing something, it takes effort, it takes decision making, it takes actual work, for a certain amount of time. So you need people that know what they are doing, why, and are committed to actually doing it. Now it's important also to handle communications both within the team and outside of the team with professionalism and decorum. You want to be polite, you want it to be on topic, you want minimum personal problems, you want to be receptive to feedback, even if you don't agree and are not taking it, you don't think it's a good idea, you want to acknowledge, you want to show that you understand the problem. This is very important because it, avoids conflicts, and unnecessary or badly handled conflicts can effectively just kill the project, which you probably don't want. You also want to avoid scope crawl, in that it's very easy to make the server or the general project about more things. You could start, advertising various servers. You could maybe start, having whatever meme channels and discussions, etc. Instead of just coordinating games, you start building some kind of community, and then that is tied with the game coordination, and then there's conflicts of interests, etc. You want to be careful about that. You basically want to stay on goal, on topic, and just keep it that way. Avoid the temptation to actually expand it beyond that. You also want individual responsibility, and that is, you want to know who does what to the individual level. If somebody's making the Google form, sure, you can have people helping that person, but that is the person that does the Google form. You want to know who it is, and you want that person doing it to know that they are doing it. Because otherwise, you can have a scenario in which 4 people are supposed to do something, but everybody's waiting for someone else, and then when it's not done, you have no idea what happened, and it's just general chaos and it brings conflict. So you want to avoid that. And also, discussion is important, but it's important to have a project lead that you refer to if there's a stalemate. Different people say different things, the project lead makes the decision and takes responsibility for that. And that way the project can keep moving. Granted, you can have people upset about that or thinking it was a bad decision, but if you want things to actually run smoothly and be able to happen, this is something that is very important. In addition to internal issues within the team, between organizers, you are also definitely going to have opposition, and you are going to have bad actors who are going to be trying to destroy the project. This is obviously has happened with various things in the community. It's a heated topic, there's various problems. You are gonna be making decisions, for example, on moderation, on which maps to choose, etc. There's going to be people that feel strongly about that, and that can easily lead to various problems coming in from the outside to deal with. So, cancellations, okay, it's current year. Cancellations happen. It's something you should think about, especially if you are going to draw attention to yourself, especially in a heated environment. It doesn't take many psychos to comb through your entire internet history and then drag out a tweet from, 2016 that you've made while being stupid or whatever, and then smear you and smear the project. So you want to be careful about that, and you want the people you have on the team, you want to make sure that they understand that these things are actually real and can happen, and then if they are okay with drawing attention to themselves despite that. Maybe if you have horrible old tweets that will surface immediately and drown the project, maybe consider not being open or participate through an alt account that nobody knows who you are on, so that that doesn't happen and destroy the project, right? Basically, be smart about it, think about it, consider it, don't go in wishfully thinking it's never going to happen, and then, you have a missile aimed at your house and then you have a problem. It's no. Think about it, it's a possibility, consider. There's going to be bad press, and there's probably going to be controversy. Once again, moderation decisions, whatever you choose, who you associate with. Controversy by association, who shouts the project out. You can get aligned in the culture war with one or the other side, whatever. Point being, this will happen, most likely. Be ready for it. And also keep the communication clean, precise and professional, focused on the goals, don't go off topic. Make sure that what you are doing is basically stands on its own merits and is not about slapping whoever you don't like around. Clean, precise, professional, serious. That's basically the idea. And then finally, there's always a danger because you are working with effectively strangers on the internet, such is the nature of such endeavors. There's also the possibility of vandalism or hijacking, where you can have bad actors actually, I don't know, you can have somebody on the mod team literally get paid to sell you out. It can happen. So then if you are the project lead, if you are doing this and you care about it and you don't want this to happen, you want to be careful with permissions. You don't want, everybody to have full managed server perms. If you have a moderator, let the moderator delete messages, but also maybe have a bot that controls how often the messages are deleted so that somebody can't purge your entire server before you notice, etc. Basically, the idea isn't to set up barbed wire and then shoot at everyone that moves. The point is, these are things you should consider, because if you are engaging and organizing something, there's going to be problems, there's going to be potential problems, and it's better to think about them and mitigate them before they happen than after. That's basically the whole point of this warning section. So, I'm very open to disagreement, to feedback, to questions and criticism. Very welcome. Does this exact idea have to be implemented? No, I don't necessarily even insist on it being implemented. The point I am generally trying to make by showing this is that it's possible to actually take action and have a direct line from action taken to result wanted, set that up, get something done and get at least some people to enjoy the game this way. Now, you might think some of the assumptions I made or some of the things I've said are shaky, not sure. I don't know if it's like this. That's fine. It might be useful to gather data. You might want to run a poll beforehand if there's interest, check something out, run it by someone, etc., etc. Absolutely. That's also part of the organization of the thing. Before you do it, you might want to check if it's viable. If you run some polls, etc., and it's not viable, then you might not want to go through the effort of setting it up. Absolutely valid. I would love to basically see more in this direction. I would like to see more people propose, this is something that can be done, and then also people actually doing things in order to improve the experience. Now, full disclaimer, I don't have the time to organize this myself. It's an actual full project to do. This is going to take time, maybe it's going to take money. It's also risky. It has, you expose yourself to a bunch of people on the internet. You don't know what they are going to do. And when you get something with a lot of people engaged, it can go in many different ways. It's going to require time. You'll need to solve conflicts. You'll need to discuss things, etc., etc. It's a real-time commitment to get this done, right? I don't have the time, and honestly, it might just be that nobody has the time for this, and it's just not going to happen. That's alright. Maybe there's a way to do this with less setup and with less difficulty. Maybe you just set up a Discord, don't think about it at all, and then you get 1 million people and it works. Alright, the point is to get people thinking in this direction. Think about what you can do. And this idea and all the ideas I've presented in here, they are free to take, to modify, to implement. Do whatever with this. I don't need credit. I don't need anything. You might want to contact me with questions. You don't have to. You don't even have to notify me that it is happening. If you succeed, I'll probably know, because I keep a little bit of an eye on the goings-on in the TF2 sphere. So, I hope you found this useful. Thank you for sticking around for my insane ramblings for an hour. I realize this is a lot to take in, and I didn't exactly use a lot of retention editing in order to make it easier to stomach. This is a static PowerPoint presentation that I didn't even make in PowerPoint. I made it in Figma slides. What's Figma, you may ask? I'll not answer, sorry. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and see you around. That's it. Cheers.